For months, Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, has watched his empire slowly crack under the weight of multiple accusations. But on June 26, 2025, a new shockwave hit the music world, one of a completely different magnitude. This time, it's not just the megastar under fire, it's his own son. A civil lawsuit was filed in a federal court. A young woman is accusing both Diddy and his son, Justin Combs, of orchestrating a masked gang rape, and what she describes is chilling. To understand, we need to go back 8 years, to April 2017, when the alleged victim was living in Louisiana. A modest life, quiet, and to her, suffocating. Like many others, she dreamed of something more: light, opportunity, success. Then one day, a Snapchat notification appeared on her phone. The sender? Justin Combs, Diddy's son. For her, that name meant fame, power, access. He told her about a job opportunity at a company linked to television. He spoke of projects, music industry connections in Atlanta, promises of help. He said with him and with his father, everything could change. This wasn't a fantasy. It was her shot. She hesitated, but then gave in. Who would say no? She packed her bags, hugged her family, booked a flight, destination Los Angeles. But what she didn't know was that this trip wasn't a gateway to a career. It was a setup. There was no office, no studio. Upon arrival, she wasn't greeted with a contract, but brought instead to a lavish villa in Beverly Hills, a dream house. Massive, silent, too silent. Nothing resembled a workplace, no meeting rooms, no laptops, not even a receptionist, just an endless chain of luxurious, perfectly arranged rooms. Something felt off, but she stayed because everything looked too real to question. And when you've got nothing left, you cling to whatever is offered. They handed her a drink, then another. Weed, poppers, smiles, and soothing voices. But behind every word there was pressure, expectation, tension dressed in charm. She didn't want to disappoint. She wanted to be professional, so she said yes. And slowly, everything blurred. Her limbs slowed, her vision clouded. Her body felt heavy. Her will slipped into a void. She was no longer in control. Night fell. The villa transformed. Once a music video fantasy, now it felt threatening. Voices grew scarce. Dim lights deepened the discomfort. Something shifted. She didn't know it yet, but the door that had closed behind her wasn't to opportunity. It was to a trap, a carefully crafted trap, designed to seduce, numb, isolate, and destroy. Time dissolved. Was it night? Dawn? She couldn't tell. Everything muffled, walls breathing. And there she lay, on an overly soft couch, her body drifting away from itself. Then suddenly, the air thickened. The silence turned brutal. 3 men entered. They moved slowly, deliberately. Not a word, no eye contact. Fully covered, masked. No faces, no identity. Just cold, mechanical silhouettes. She wanted to scream. Her mouth wouldn't move. No sound. Her arms, her legs, nothing worked. Her mind was clear, but her body wasn't hers. She was awake, alert, trapped in flesh that no longer obeyed. What happened next is beyond comprehension. The 3 men took turns, one after another, violently, methodically. She would never forget. Everything was sharp, too sharp. Every movement, every breath, every pain. Nothing was spared. No part of her body was respected. Oral, anal, brutal, repeated, unprotected, unending. And in the heart of this nightmare, a word, thrown like a signal. Pops. She heard it, clearly, and it pierced her, because she knew that voice, that tone, that calm command that carried weight, that silent authority. And in an instant, she realized it wasn't a suspicion, it was a fact. One of those masked men was Diddy. She recognized the voice, the presence, the movements, and that word, Pops, spoken with reverence. He wasn't just in the room. He wasn't just watching. He was participating. She knew, and that realization shattered her, because this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't spontaneous. It was a ritual, a script, a system, calculated and rehearsed. She wasn't a woman. She was an object, a vessel, something to use, break, silence, time lost meaning, minutes, hours, she had no idea. But the pain remained, etched into every breath, every heartbeat between assaults. And in that silence, a terrifying thought bloomed. No one was coming to save her. Because these men were powerful, untouchable, protected, and this wasn't an accident. It was a performance, a cruel show, played in secret, where the victim stands alone, completely alone. When she opened her eyes again, the silence had returned, a suffocating silence. The villa was calm, too calm. The bodies were gone, the masks too. Only she remained, naked, shattered, in a room far too big for so much pain. She didn't know if she had slept, passed out, or just survived. Her body felt alien. She was numb, her legs trembling, her throat dry, and in her head, one question played over and over. What now? But no one asked, no one helped, no comfort, just an envelope, a plane ticket, and a cold order. You're going home, and you say nothing, no direct threats, no gun, but everything was there. The fear, the power, the control. She understood. She understood she hadn't fallen into the hands of amateurs. These were professionals. They knew how to erase tracks, shape narratives, silence witnesses. So she complied. She flew back to Louisiana, but she wasn't the same. She was no longer anything. No words, no bearings, just silence, her only refuge. Days passed, then months, then years. She told no one, not her family, not her friends. She buried it deep, because who would believe her? These weren't strangers she was accusing. They were icons, moguls, smiling fathers on red carpets. And her? She was nobody, no evidence, no defense, no voice. But something shifted. As years went on, she saw, heard, read, whispers, rumors, lawsuits, other women, other stories, eerily similar. She wasn't alone, and one day, without warning, she made a decision. She got up, hired a lawyer, and spoke, officially, publicly. She filed a lawsuit against Justin Combs, against Sean Combs, against everything they represent. This time, it wasn't a whisper. It was a roar, and it marked the beginning of an earthquake. This lawsuit didn't go unnoticed because it didn't target an anonymous man. It went after a monument, an empire, a name synonymous with success, power, and influence. Sean Diddy Combs. And this time, it was different. Not a post lost in social media. A federal lawsuit with facts, dates, locations, devastating words. She accuses Justin Combs of luring, manipulating, and delivering her. She accuses Sean Combs of participating, orchestrating, committing the unthinkable. And in this lawsuit, she's not just asking for compensation, she's demanding truth, accountability, an end to untouchable power. The charges are grave: aggravated sexual assault, gender-based violence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent supervision, aiding and abetting sexual exploitation. And it's not just the individuals she's suing, it's their companies, their structures, the very system that enabled it all to happen in luxurious secrecy. Because this isn't an isolated case, it's not an exception, it's a pattern, a method. Vulnerable women, job offers, flights to lavish villas, costume parties, drugs, and behind it all, the same name, again and again, Diddy, now Justin, even Christian Combs, now facing another sexual assault lawsuit. The image of the perfect family splashed on magazine covers is crumbling, slowly but steadily. Testimonies are piling up. Even male escorts are speaking out, describing Diddy in costume, oiled up, participating in freak-offs, multi-day orgies, secretive and unrestrained. They speak of masks, costumes, cameras. Everything seems designed for one purpose: erase the evidence, erase the faces, erase responsibility. But you can't erase a voice, a gate, the terror of memory. And what this woman says echoes what so many others have kept inside. The most chilling part isn't the horror, it's the precision, the consistency, the machine-like regularity of a system built to consume bodies and silence them. Even Diddy's daughter was seen in the courtroom, sitting quietly as unimaginable violence was recounted. No one flinched, no one looked away. It had become normal, and that's what disturbs the most. The normalization, the passivity, the silence of those who knew and looked away. For years, Diddy was untouchable, producer, cultural icon, business mogul. Now, the empire is crumbling, sponsors fleeing, deals evaporating, public opinion shifting, because people will look the other way until the screams get too loud, until there are too many lawsuits, too many details, too many victims. This isn't just a scandal. It's a slow demolition, not driven by the media, but by those who were meant to disappear into silence. And it all changed the day this woman spoke. She didn't just tell her story. She exposed a system, a culture of silence, an empire built on fear and impunity. She refused to vanish. She said no, and that no, hurled at the face of power, cracked something that no millions of dollars could repair. The question is no longer, is it true? The real question now is, how many knew and said nothing?